All right. So, good evening to the people who have just joined, and welcome everybody once again for the session that we are going to have today. So, I'm going to share my screen, and we are going to cover today the testing techniques. We are going to do a bit of revision what we have done so far, and then we start with the today's content. Okay. All right. So let me know once you see the screen. And just confirm me once you see the screen, okay? Okay. Is everybody able to see? Okay, thank you. Thank you for confirming that you're able to see. And someone asked that, ma'am, will we be getting a completion certificate? Yes, you will be getting a completion certificate for sure. The only criteria to get the completion certificate is that you need to attend all the classes. Okay, makes sense. So the candidates who are joining daily, thank you very much for that. And you will be getting a completion certificate at the end of our class. Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. So if you see, we have already covered introduction to software testing, testing principles. There were 7 testing principles you heard. You remember if there were 7 testing principles, testing, exhaustive testing is not possible, early testing, pesticide paradox, defect clustering, and so on. So we had quite a session for that, and I hope you remember. Then this was the skills for testing. We understood what are the skills that are required for testing, SDLC, STLC. This is a very key thing. Okay, okay guys, so it just seems that okay, fine, STLC is what? Software testing life cycle. So, and we know that okay, first step is analysis, the second step is writing a test plan, third step is creation of test cases, and then fourth step is test environment or test data, and then the fifth step is test execution, and then the test defect management, and then the test closure. But then this is where our entire role works on. This is what we will be doing in and out. This is what we will be doing every day. So the concepts of SDLC must be there in your mind so well that if anybody tries to ask you from here and there and from in between, बीच में से कभी कोई कुछ पूछ रहा है या कहीं से भी कुछ पूछ रहा है, then you have to be very sharp enough to understand the link. Where does this fall into SDLC? आपने तुरंत relate करना है. You need to relate it quickly, that where will this fall into SDLC, and then you would want to reply to that question. So SDLC is key to the entire testing process. Okay. Types of software testing we already studied: manual, automation, black box, white box, and then functional, non-functional. And in functional we studied smoke testing, we studied regression testing, we studied functional, we studied integration unit, and all those are the types of software testing. Levels of software testing. Levels means what, where, which level do you start and which level do you go up. I start with unit, and then I go to integration, then I go to system integration, and then I go to UAT. This is how you do a levels of your software testing. Then we study 2 important models, which is the SDLC model, which is also the SDLC and the waterfall. When I explained, they are pretty much the same. The SDLC and the waterfall, when one phase is completely completed or freezed, when one phase is signed off, or when the activities of one phase are completed, then only we move on to the next phase. Then on only we move on to the next phase. This is what the waterfall model says. And VNV models has a validation process for every verification, meaning the development, whatever has been developed, there is a phase of testing for that. You develop it and then you get validated against that. So that is what is the VNV model. And then we study test case documentation, development, and creation. That the example, a very simple example we had yesterday. You remember, guys, a very simple example we had yesterday for creating a test cases for an Amazon account. That okay, how do a user can purchase something from an Amazon account? For this, we wrote a simple test cases. That to how do we create a login? How do we create a login? We did that yesterday for the development of the test cases as a part of the writing activity for test cases. And we just understood the format of test case. We understood that what all goes into the test case, that what all items goes into the test case. So can anybody quickly write me that what all items goes into the test case? What all things you need to mention while writing a test case? Yes. What all things will you check at that time? Yes, right. Test case name, correct. What else? What were the contents that we studied yesterday for all the entries that we are going to write there? We started with test case ID, correct. We started with test case ID. We then wrote test case name. Then we wrote test case description, and then we wrote the test steps. And then what did we wrote? What did we write? We write expected results. We wrote actual results, and then defects. If there are any defects, we will also mention that. And before defect, there is one field which is called a test result, wherein you're going to mention pass or fail. So this is what were the contents of the test cases. You remember, guys? You remember what all did we put there? Yes, correct. Yes. This is what, yes, you're right. Yeah. So this is what we had all this in the test cases content. And then we also saw a defect management. This was the defect management that we studied yesterday, guys. Defect management is this, which talks about the defect life cycle, when a defect will be called as deferred, when a defect will be called as closed, when a defect will be called as rejected. See, the normal one, you will always understand that a defect is new, and then it is fixed, and then it is retested, and then it is closed. So the tricky part is, when do you say a defect as deferred, or when do you say a defect as rejected? So that is what we studied yesterday. And today, what are we going to study? Today, we are going to study this one. Okay. This. Today, we are going to study testing techniques. Today we are going to have a look at all the testing techniques. That what are the testing techniques, how do we test it, and what are those, how are they beneficial to us, what value do they add, and so on. So let's quickly go to the testing techniques. Technique is what? Technique is a process that you apply during testing. A typical process, a technical process, or a process that is technical and that is to be applied while testing. uh, you remember the first principle of testing, guys, that exhaustive testing is not possible. That exhaustive testing is not possible. What does it mean? That exhaustive testing is not possible mean that you cannot test each and every value of that. Suppose a text box is there, and a text box accepts age. A test box accepts age. So you have to enter a age of the candidate, and then go ahead, and then go to the next field. quite a possible test case, that okay, enter the age, and then if you want to fill a form and you want to check if the form is generating correctly at the end a PDF will be generated for the form. So suppose there are somewhere around 10 pages for the form, you fill it, and at the end it will consolidate all your data and then turn that data into a PDF. Can this happen? Have you seen that in our daily life, that you fill the data and everything in soft copy or online, and at the end they say that have a look or review this is what you filled. So they are, if we filled it 7 pages, so almost the 7 pages are converted into a PDF, isn't it? So that is how it is. So all those are converted into PDF. Now if I have now guys, if I have a text box that only accept numbers, because I have to enter age. So age will always be numeric, accepts numbers. ठीक है? Up if somebody wants to ask you to test, and the criteria is that you can enter age from 1 to 100. You can enter age what as 1 to 100. You can obviously do that, and you can have that age entered as 1 to 100. Now, if I may ask to people, and I want them to reply on the chat box, that will you test 1 2 3 4 till the 100 time in the text box to see if the text box is appearing, or is the text box accepting all the valid ages? What your approach will be? What your approach will be? Tell me. What are you guys going to check? What are you guys going to check? Okay, so what are we going to check is, suppose if I have put a text box, now you can't enter, it is not possible for us that you go and check 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. You can't keep on doing till 100, because you remember the first principle that says what? Exhaustive testing is not possible. Exhaustive testing means you cannot keep on doing and doing and doing and doing. So there has to be some techniques. There has to be some techniques to test that, and this is what the techniques are going to. And if you can see the screen, these are the techniques that we are going to study about today. That what is a testing technique, and you know, a particular scenario will have any of these testing techniques. Maybe that in a particular scenario, all these 6 type of techniques are not used, only 2 are used, or sometimes all 6 of them are used. So it depends upon the scenario that we have, that what technique are you going to apply. What technique are you going to apply? So this is called a testing techniques. Is it clear? Have I made you guys understand that what is a technique and what is a testing technique and why do we use it? If anybody asks you in the question that what is the importance of the testing techniques, so the answer is it should start like this, that because since exhaustive testing is not possible, the point number 1 for the principles of testing, that exhaustive testing is not possible, and we need to do a we need to apply some testing techniques to ensure. What does a testing techniques does? To ensure the coverage is 100%. Okay, guys, so just hear to me properly and carefully. When there is a text box, the coverage means हम कितना ज्यादा cover कर रहे हैं test cases को, ठीक है, या scenarios को जो हमको दिया हुआ है. So now if there is a text box, and if I will only say that I have achieved 100% testing by doing one, by adding 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 and so on and so on. So will I be called that, oh wow, this testing is super awesome because you have tested everything? No. I will get to hear that people are saying that you are a very bad tester. You're a shit tester. Why? Because you have not applied proper techniques. You have not applied proper techniques. So that is what we are going to hear or going to understand today. Any questions so far? All right. So I'm going to also test, I'm going to also share one more document. Can you guys see by any chance a Word document that I have shared? By any chance you can see this? Okay. Okay. So let me share it again. Okay. So this is a document which has all the testing techniques and we are going to study one by one. Okay. Okay, guys. If you have any questions, please type in the chat box. I will try to answer them. Okay. And and is it now visible? I did check only that. If that is visible, then I move forward. Is that visible? Is it still not visible? Is it visible now, everybody? Can anybody confirm me? I've just shared a Word document for everybody to have a look. Is it now visible, guys? So yes, so people are saying yes, it is visible. Let's move ahead. Okay, so the first testing technique is, you know what? BVA, which is called as boundary value analysis. Boundary value analysis here speaks that suppose if there is a condition that a text box, like I said, that it is an age and it should only accept between 1 to 100. So your first, if you're testing, what you will do, you will try to test with -1. Will an age be a -1? You will try to test 101, and then you will probably try to execute like this, something like this, or you will try to execute something like this. This is called a boundary value analysis. This technique is called what? Boundary value analysis. This is called BVA. That what do we say to that? BVA. Meaning that whenever you have asked 1 to 100 no, then you probably do the boundary. So what is the boundary for 1? 0 and -1. What could be the boundary for 100? So the boundary is, so the boundary value analysis is 1, -1. So now if the data was accepted as 1 to 100, we have shrinked it to how many data sets? We have shrinked it to, suppose if I say I'm going to test 0, I'm going to test 1, I'm going to test what else I'm going to test 99, I'm going to test 100. These are the scenarios that I'm going to test, isn't it? These are the scenarios that I'm going to test. So now, do you think inputting 1 to 100 is better or just adding numbers is better? Okay, so this is one of the technique which is called as boundary value analysis. Okay. Now, so this is what it has been written, that you do a boundary test. You do a boundary test, and maybe from this you can also pick any normal value. You can pick a 50, you can pick a 55 and just check if this is working or not. Okay. Now the another important, very important testing technique is the equivalence test partitioning. Equivalence test partitioning means कि आप ग्रुप बना लीजिए. आप आपके घर में या बाहर जहां पर भी आप रहते हैं, are there possibilities that there the people will be playing or the kids will be playing on so on? Yes, ma'am. Okay, right. So there is a equivalence class partitioning means the numbers or the data that belong to the same category, guys. The data or the number that belongs to the same category, they are kept together. They are called as equivalence, and then they are put together. So there will be some positive, there will be some negative. So suppose if I have to do an equivalence partitioning for, see this is here, it has given us such a nice example. See, this is, I'm just copying and pasting it, and we will see this, and when we read this we will be able to understand. Just read this, guys. Read in your mind, but read it. I'm just sending that. Okay. All right. So these are, so they are just putting it in equivalence, means 1 to 10 तक, means 1 to 10 तक एक style का data हो गया, या they belong to the same category. That is why we have said as valid, 11 to 19 as invalid, 20 to 30 as valid, 31 to endless as invalid. You can select values from each. अब मुझे 1 to 10 में से ना, मैंने पहले classes बांट लिया, guys. What I have done is I have first created an equivalence classes. Ki 1 to 10 is now into a valid class. Now I will apply a BVA. BVA means boundary value analysis to each class. Each class 1 to 10 वाले क्लास में मैं BVA लगाऊंगी, तो मेरी टेस्टिंग क्या होगी? What will I test? I will test 0, -1, 1, and here what will I test? I will test 10, 11, 9. एक इससे कम, एक इससे ज्यादा. What will I test? 9, 10, and 11. So first I am doing, first step is to do and create an equivalence classes. Create what? First step is what? Create I'm just writing it out. Create one equivalence classes. Okay. And then second is what? Second is the creating boundary value analysis for this. Creating boundary value analysis for this, which is BVA, and then you do the testing. All right. So is it understood, guys? Is it understood? If somebody can reply, if I'm able to convey what, or if you're understanding, not understanding, we will have, I will come to know that, okay, this is what, and this is a very important from the interview point of view also, that the candidate can directly give you a scenario and then ask what techniques will you use in this. They can simply ask what technique do you use in this. So we need to understand each and every technique carefully. Yeah, okay, tell me which one do you want me to repeat? Sure, I will, but which one do you want me to repeat? Okay, equivalence. Now, equivalence, for example, from the example starting. Okay, let's take this example. Okay, so now if somebody says that you have to enter, if you have to enter 1 to 10, if the test case, or if the text box, if there is a text box, there is a text box like this, and you have to enter number into that, and what is written in the BRD, that number should only be between 1 to 10 or 20 to 30. The number should only be between 1 to 10 and 20 to 30. Now what we will do first, you will create classes. Classes का मतलब है इक्विवेलेंस क्लासेस, मतलब वो चीजों पिक करो जो सेम कैटेगरी को बिलोंग करती है, सेम कैटेगरी को. तो मैं पहले ले रही हूँ 1 to 10. Why does it coming into the same category? Because ये सारे वैलिड है, इसके ऊपर नीचे इनवैलिड है. अगर मैं जीरो से लेकर माइनस -1 -2 -3 ऐसे करके लू तो मेरा वो एक अलग क्लास बन गया, which is called as lower limit and a negative and an invalid. Which will, what will we call this one, which is I am highlighting with this mouse? This will be called as the lower test data. Lower, ये 1 to 10 से कम है, so lower test data, and it is an invalid case. इनवैलिड केस मतलब ये पास नहीं होना चाहिए. जब मैं ये वाला नंबर दूं ना, -1 -2, तो मुझे एक पॉपअप आना चाहिए इमीडिएटली, दैट एंटर दी इनकरेक्ट एज, इनकरेक्ट एज, ऐसा करके मेरे पास पॉपअप आना चाहिए. तो वो आ रहा है कि नहीं आ रहा है, हमें ये वेरीफाई करना है. तो हम एक नॉर्मल डाल के देखेंगे, 8 डालेंगे, 9 डालेंगे, 1 डालेंगे, इसके हिसाब से 1 to 10 वैलिड है तो उसके हिसाब से पिक करेंगे, एंड देन वी विल ट्राई टू एग्जीक्यूट इट. और ये एग्जीक्यूट हो गया, ठीक है, चलो ये एक वैलिड हो गया. अब 1 to 10 के बीच में और एक इनवैलिड बन सकता है अपर लिमिट का. ये 1 के पहले वाला हमने जो ऊपर देखा है, दैट इज अ पार्ट ऑफ दी लोअर लिमिट. ठीक है, 1 से कम वाला था. अब हम ना 10 से ज्यादा वाला लेंगे, मे बी 11 to 19, क्योंकि 20 to 30 तो फिर स्कोप में है. तो हम क्या लेंगे, 11 to 19. और ये कौन सा होगा, वैलिड होगा, इनवैलिड होगा, क्या होगा, ये कैसा सिनारियो है? कैन एनीबॉडी टेल मी क्विकली, which is this, what is the type of this scenario if I say a valid? It will be a valid scenario. It will be a valid scenario. ठीक है? Is it clear now, equivalence partitioning from the example? Okay, very good. Now let's move forward. Yes, all right. So you have also understood this equivalence class partitioning. You understood the बाउंड्री वैल्यू एनालिसिस. पहले हम इक्विवेलेंस क्लास बना लेंगे, फिर हम बाउंड्री वैल्यू एनालिसिस करेंगे कि उसकी बाउंड्री की वैल्यूज लेको टेस्ट करेंगे, एंड देन वी आर डन. We don't have to input 1 to 100 one by one. No, we will only test 3-4 times. Two times will be the negative, one time will be the positive. So we will test that. ठीक है, so this is called as boundary value analysis and equivalence partitioning. Now एक केस आता है कि जैसे डिसीजन टेबल बेस्ड टेस्टिंग. अब डिसीजन टेबल मतलब क्या होता है ना, कि एक एक किसी चीज में एक करोगे तो दूसरा इफेक्ट हो जाएगा. When you give input to something or when you do submit, then yeah, just give me a second, guys. Just give me a second. All right, guys, sorry for that. I got a call. Okay. And now, all right. So what we were discussing, we were discussing the cause and effect. What we were discussing, the cause and effect. Cause and effect is what? That you do something, and then based on your action, something happens. See, what is that? A submit button should be enabled if the user has entered the required fields, meaning that you're doing a testing, and suppose if there are four mandatory fields, and then also that field is not getting updated until and unless you update all the mandatory fields. Have you ever come across any form that you fill or anything that you do, that if you, until and unless you have entered your username, you have entered your email id, you have entered your phone number, you have entered a OTP, till that time the submit button is not enabled for you to click. That is called what? That is called a decision based table, where it is where output depends on the combination of inputs. Just try to understand this point, that the output depends on the combination of inputs. Means the task is to first, where the task is to first identify functionalities where the output depends on the combination of input. Meaning, suppose if guys, suppose if there is something called as a concession system, and if you enter a age of 20, and when you do a submit, and then the fees has to be reduced, will it be reduced? Will it be reduced? No. Why it will not be reduced? Because the combination says that the age has to be a senior citizen, then only the name has to be senior citizen, and then you attach a ID proof to that. It will verify that, and then accordingly when you move on to the next page, the amount will be reflected. This is called a decision. The decision of the amount that has to reflect on the next page will be taken based on your inputs. Understood? So this is when will you apply this technique? When you have a lot of different combinations of input, and based on your answers, the decision will change. The decision will change. The answers will, the output will be different. The output will be different. Suppose if I am a college going student and I want to book a movie ticket, then for me, if I am a 17-year-old girl, and I have provided my college ID proof, then probably the ticket will give me a 25% discount. Whereas if I am a 20-year-old, and then if I say that okay, I'm also providing my college ID, will it give me a discount? If it gives you a discount, then it is a defect. Then it is a defect. Because what is the decision, what this technique is called as decision table based technique, wherein all the inputs that you give, all the inputs that you keep entering will have an impact on your final output. Understood? So you know why we need to understand all this, that when they can come up with a scenario that okay, this is what you want to test, what techniques will you apply? The interviewer can ask you that this is my scenario. Now tell me what all techniques you will apply. Then we need to think. Okay, we need to think that okay, what is the target? What is the audience base, or what is the people that we want to include in this type of testing? What should be my data, guys? The data, word data is extremely crucial in testing. Every result will depend on the type of data that you're selecting for the testing, and the results will of course vary. And the results will of course vary when you have different sets of data. Am I clear? See, see guys, I'm just saying input. If you name, if you enter a name false, okay, then if these are the things, a submit button in contact form is enabled when only all the inputs are entered by the user. So if I have not entered this one, if I have not entered, if the name is false, then my submit is also false. If my email is false, message is false, then my submit will not work. My submit will only work when my name is true, when my email is true, and my message is true. Then only I will get a result as true. Then only I will get a result as true. Is it okay? Have you guys understood? or no? Is everybody understanding? Just try to think. Just try to think that, okay, what is that I'm talking about? Yes, yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for confirming, guys. Good to know that you're understanding. Now, state transition. State transition. If anybody has studied maths, if anybody has studied maths, then did you guys remember the formula of and or operators? And add will become and or will become or. Does anybody remember this? Does anybody remember this technique? Yes. You remember that and is something like that. So state transitioning. State gets transitioned. That if there are two switches and if both of them are on, then the result will be on. It's getting state transition. Means from yes to no. If the value is yes, yes, then the result will be, for me, it will be yes. Even if it is no, no, then also sometimes false and false will become true. That is what is the state transition technique. This is the state transition technique that you're going to apply. Okay. Suppose if you are into an ATM, now you try to test something. You're into an ATM and then you now try to test something. Now what will happen is, suppose if at the start you're giving this incorrect pin for the first time, then then what will you say at the first time? Access is granted. The phase has changed. The phase has changed. State has transitioned. Okay. Now, if you go into the second try and if you have entered incorrect pin, then the account will say, please try. Please try because you have now entered the incorrect pin. So it will allow you to do it 3 times and then the account will be blocked. Then the account will be blocked. So this is called as state transition technique. When a state is transited from yes to no or from no to yes. Okay. And now this one is a pretty simple technique, which is an error guessing techniques. So this is generally used by the people who are very much experienced. You know why? Suppose if you are working into anything, forget about testing for that moment. Suppose if you are working into something which you are working for a long time. You're working for maybe 2 years, 3 years, and then would you be able to tell that where could the error be? Would you be able to guess? Would you be able to guess that what could be the problem be? If I'm working in any organization, if I'm working anywhere, I am working anywhere, and then I have been working there for 2 to 3 years, and something stops working. For example, if anyone is working in the kitchen and then they just simply use a mixer every day, and then one fine day the mixer stops working, will they able to little bit understand that why mixer is not working? I think yes. What they will say, that the blade has broken. Probably the blade has broken or the washer has gone off. Why? Because they have been using that in and out every day. So is the error guessing techniques कि आप वो एप्लीकेशन इतनी बारी यूज कर चुके हैं, आप वो एप्लीकेशन इतने अच्छे से समझ गए हैं कि आपको ये समझ में आ गया है कि कहाँ पे एरर हो सकता है. That now you are a pro, you are an experienced guy, and you know that okay, this portion could be an error prone portion, or this feature will have a lot of error. This could be somewhere related to an defect clustering. You remember the defect clustering, that you understand where is the defect cluster formed, कि सारे defects आपको कहाँ मिलेंगे. So this technique is called the error guessing, and this comes with the experience. Unfortunately, this will not come. This will not, people who have just started doing it, or the people who are new to the team, people who are new to that application, will not be able to guess the errors. This is heavily dependent on the peoples who are the experienced one and who understand the application, जिनको ना application in and out समझ में आता है, domain in and out समझ में आता है. They just look at it and then they solve your problem. So that technique is called an error guessing technique. So these are the important techniques that you're going to use. And many of the times we probably used the boundary value analysis, equivalence partitioning. These two are the critical one, I would say, which I have seen people working day in and day out. कि पहले आप इक्विवेलेंस क्लास बना लीजिए, फिर आप उसके बाद उसके ऊपर बाउंड्री वैल्यू एनालिसिस का टेक्निक लगाइए और फिर टेस्ट करिए. दिस वुड जनरली डू 80 to 85% of your testing task, because it is to verify whether a field is working, whether verify that the data is getting entered correctly, the range of data is accepted properly by the application. This is called as testing techniques. So if anybody says that if you have to test numbers between 1 to 10, then there will be three class partitioning. One be a lower limit, one will be a normal limit, and then other one will be an upper limit. Now three classes ban gaye, lower, normal, upper. Lower में आप क्या करेंगे, आप डालेंगे lower में 0, -1 एंड सो, ये आपका बन गया BVA, आपका वो पहले क्लास का बन गया BVA. ठीक है. अब उसके बाद आप क्या करेंगे, आपके पास नॉर्मल सिनारियो है, तब आप नॉर्मल सिनारियो में क्या टेस्ट करेंगे, व्हाट आर यू गोइंग टू टेस्ट फॉर द सेकंड क्लास, यू आर गोइंग टू टेस्ट 1, 5, 10 फॉर एग्जांपल. ठीक है. And then for the final one, for the upper limit, what you're going to test, you are probably going to test 11, 99 or something like that. सो तीन क्लासेस थे और हर एक क्लास में मैंने BVA लगाया. तो मेरे 1 to 10 में मैंने कितनी बार टेस्टिंग की, 1 2 3 4 5 6 मोर और लेस मैंने उतनी बार टेस्टिंग की, एंड देन आई एम गुड टू गो. This is the technique that you should remember while even answering your interviews and while even doing a testing. We even use these techniques today also. These are very common techniques and we still use those today. Okay. Okay, guys. All right. So I'm back to this one. This is the testing technique which we have done. So everybody, tomorrow we are going to have the session of the test closure. How we do a test closure? What is a test closure? It's like a test plan, but only difference is it's a test closure. We will look at a test closure document the way we looked at a test plan document. ठीक है? हम test closure देखेंगे. उसके बाद we are going to have the automation classes. ठीक है. So with that we will finish the manual class ka content, and then we will move on to the automation classes, where we will have the selenium, with Java classes. ठीक है. And then we will also have the SQL classes. So I would request everybody to just go through everything that we have learned in our classes so far, and come with questions to me tomorrow. Come up with questions and ask me questions, and I would be happy to repeat them for you, and then we can be good. So probably tomorrow will be the test closure for the manual testing classes, and any doubts and all those stuff we will do it tomorrow. And then after that, on Friday or Saturday, we are going to cover the automation classes. Is that okay? Does this sound good to everybody? What do you think? If anybody wants to share any feedback, then please let me know. Good, ma'am. Okay. Very nice. Very nice. Ma'am, has your what you have written? मैनुअल की क्लास शुरू हो गई. Yes, मैनुअल की क्लास शुरू हो गई है, and we started the manual class on Monday, and it's a 2 month class. So in case you want to join, you can join. I have already said this, that the batch is of 4 people, and you can already join the class which starts from which have already started on Monday, and it is a 2 month class. So the class that starts on Monday will end on June end, which will have again it's a combination, it's an advanced testing class. Okay, it's an advanced testing class which will cover what all it is going to cover is I'm going to drop you a message. All right, guys. So if anyone has any questions, please ask me. I'm there here for maybe 2 minutes, and then we will wrap it up for today's class, and I will wait for your questions, and we will see you all tomorrow at the same time. Okay, I'm there here for 1 minute. If anybody has any questions, please do ask. Okay. All right, guys, then have a nice rest of the day. See you tomorrow. Be on time, and we meet tomorrow again. So, bye bye. Take care.